This is the intro to end all intros. Talk about Dungeons, Dragons, and Huge.
Now, I don't think that's proper. This is a family show after all. This is the intro we can use, fellas. It's good, clean fun for everyone. Welcome to the Wisdom Check, where we have wholesome conversations about the dilemmas we face every day.
Nah, hold on a second. I got your intro right here. Yeah, that's better. Welcome to the Wisdom Check. Well, I'm right, just wrong. We're gonna have guests on to talk about it. It's gonna be awesome. Because I said so.
He is right. He did say so. I don't know. Is surf music the best music for a podcast about D&D?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
This just in, nobody can agree on our intro for this podcast. So we're just going to start. Welcome to the Wisdom Check. Roll for initiative. Fuck. A 1. It's like every time.
All right. I think we're here. I might be here.
Yep. It looks like we're up.
I'm not on location in Florida, I promise.
Well, it's good to have you back, buddy. You've been gone for a couple weeks, and we have missed you. So I'm Jeff. That's Dustin over there. And yeah, well, maybe it is. We did have some fun without you. It's true.
I watched the show while I was down there. You know, I know damn well you guys didn't miss me one bit. You had Larry Elmore on here while I was gone. So don't you pretend for a minute you were missing my ass.
Well, okay, fair enough. But yeah, we got you on tonight. The internet is a little bit spotty as per usual. So if we see Dustin's cutting out a little bit or his audio's getting a little weird, well, cell phone technology for the win.
Deal with it.
Yeah. So that's us. But we have a guest with us today. And of course, that is Duke from Geek Unleashed. So hello and welcome to the stream.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on. So let's go ahead and kind of get into things a little bit here. And let's go through our usuals here. So for those of you who don't know us, why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel and what is it you do?
Okay. Well, Geek Unleashed is a tabletop role-playing channel on Twitch. We do have a YouTube channel as well. We are in, I think, our third phase. And I say that because we started with one show last year, Star Wars, show called Smugglers Run. We shot it locally, and then we decided to go all remote. And then we had Heroes Incorporated, which is Mutants Masterminds, which goes Monday nights. And we had One Shot, which was on Tuesdays, where we played a different game each week. And we just wrapped a Call to Adventure, where I ran the Essentials Kit for 3 beginner players. We had guests from different podcasts and channels come in and play as RP coaches. And that was real blast.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. You know, it's very cool to be able to rope people into a game system and have people there ready to kind of usher them in, you know, because that's definitely something that we kind of had a little bit, you know, like an older generation that would like introduce us to the game. But I don't really remember having real mentorship. And I can see that being a huge advantage.
No, definitely. Like back when we started, like we kind of mentored some of ourselves in. Like I think Levi, you know, when we talked to him, like he got books and then he started running games and then we all just started playing and then we bring our friends in to play and like have to teach them. But we never had like a real older generation to sit down and like play with, like show us kind of the ropes. We kind of figured it out on our own, I guess.
Bumpy ride that.
I was bummed that I was bummed though that I didn't get to sign up for your Call to Adventure thing. I really wanted to mentor, but you being East Coast wasn't going to work out with my work schedule, unfortunately. So I was bummed that I didn't get to do that, but I seriously did take a look at it.
Well, it's something that we're going to bring back for a second season if I can find something more beginner to do. And we're looking at doing things actually at later times now because it's just too early for the West Coast too. to come at 4 o'clock and start tuning in. So that's something we're definitely looking at later times.
It's a weird thing to deal with,
Right.
Through the internet, it's like, yeah, this is a reasonable time,
You think that.
Follow, thank you. And thanks for the bits there, Fruitzilla, bringing it in as always.
Fruitzilla's here already? Man.
Yeah.
That guy was hawking all over us. I did a setup stream last night for my new Zweihander game, and he was in there like the moment it launched. I guess I didn't have the test stream set up properly, so he got the notification, man. He was right on it. So we love you, Fruit. Welcome.
Yeah, thank Nebulicious for the follow there. So this mentor idea is a really cool idea. I like that a lot. And you said it was with the essentials, right? So
yes,
you're looking at something a little simpler than that, even.
Well, I mean, the Dragon of Icespire Peak was a perfect length. We could have run it in 11 episodes, but we just shortened it to 9. I mean, and finding beginner players too, because watching them progress and watching D&D sink its teeth into their soul, basically, like they're so excited by the end. They want more, and I can't deliver more. So, So, I mean, it's a great feeling to watch players just get latched on to D&D and excited about it.
Yeah, there's a lot to love, man. Are you finding anything in particular that is really just dragging these people along? Like something that really just bites them hard and doesn't let go?
Well, for one player, he really enjoyed building characters. Like I could see him being the more power gamer, like the mid-maxer, whereas another player just loves role playing and like the narrative style and stuff like that. He played a Kinku monk and took Magic Initiate, and for 3 of the guests that we had, RP coaches, he took Druid because it had 3 other spells, and he would mimic their voice to cast it. It was like the coolest thing.
That's clever. I hadn't really thought of that idea. That's a good one.
Since Kinku are the race that he can only speak so many words to begin with, right?
Right. And
they have very limited vocabulary. So, right. So that's funny that he would use what he would choose to mimic was other people's spells.
Right.
That's
great.
That's rote memorization right there. That's
right. And he would say it with their inflection and their tone, so it sounded like that character. So it was great.
Did he actually do an impersonation of the other player playing the character? Oh, that's right there. That's fantastic.
So I mean, obviously, these are things that are attractive to the players. One of the things we like to talk about is a little bit about what brought you into gaming, and what sorts of things really, as we said, took a bite out of you.
Sure. Growing up in Tennessee, it was like the Bible Belt, and I was in the 80s with the whole Satanic Panic. So it was hard for me to find that avenue for it. But I would go to comic book stores after school and pick up the D&D books, look through them, or the Shadowrun book. My grandmother used to always buy me the Palladium Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games books because I never played it, but I was so into the Turtles that I really wanted to, and no one around to play it. So I went through all my life. It wasn't until 8 years ago that a friend said, "Hey, I'm gonna put together this Pathfinder game online. Why don't you check it out? I think you'd be really great at it." And most of the time, it was spent on, like I was telling you, make sure the macros worked, and it was less about the game, and it fizzled out. But when I moved from Tennessee to Indianapolis, I found a game in a Pathfinder game at a local store, and it hooked me there at a table, being around other players, and then I got it. I understood it. And then we played Shadowrun 5th edition after that. No, it was 4th edition, and then 5th edition came out, and we came back to it. I played, and after that, we started doing home games. We got into narrative systems like Fate, the Age system from Green Ronin. Monster of the Week was a good one to get into, and that just storytelling is like what I love best about it.
So yeah, go ahead, Dustin. It looks like you're going to say
Well,
something.
I was going to say, so when you got all these systems under your belt, and you decide you want to bring some new players into tabletop role playing, do you go to D&D just because it's D&D, and you say, D&D is the mainstay, like this is the one they'll hear about, that they know about, there's enough out there, they can watch Critical Role, like is that where you try to bring them in, or do you look for a more rules light system? D&D 5e is already pretty rules light anyway.
Right.
But
I mean, yes and no. We were playing introducing people to Fate, before. I mean, and some of my players got into role playing games, tabletop role playing, through online games like Dresden Files. I'd ran something online on YouTube, or we did the Venture City, which is a superheroes Fate game, and they were really feeling it. But again, at that time, 5th edition wasn't out yet. When it did come out, the year of Gen Con, I was like, okay, I'm going to try all three: Pathfinder Society, I'm going to play 13th Age, and then I'm going to try 5th edition Adventures League, and see which one of the fantasy settings that I will just love the most. And it was 5th edition that really grabbed me. Even though, and I'll get into it later about the way that it's shoehorned in, but it was a great learning experience to be in a fantasy setting with 5th edition. Like I said, it's coming from Pathfinder. You have like are they flat-footed? Am I flanking? All those extra rules that it's kind of relaxing not to have, because you don't have to pause the game to ask those questions, and the story continues with the immersion.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's definitely one of the reasons why I really favor 5e. I know Jeff is more on the other side of that coin, but for me, like it was a breath of fresh air getting to a system where I didn't have to completely worry about that stuff all the time. So I totally understand, and I like my games to keep moving. So
right,
I definitely get it.
And it is an easy system to get players involved in too. And like you said, it's everywhere. I mean, anywhere you go on YouTube, you can find samples of someone playing an actual play or lore videos, anything like that. You can just watch all day.
It's easy for a new player to get into a game to research, is what it really is. Like, you want to play a druid, you can find 500 videos on druids, like on how to build them, how to play them, the different archetypes that you can play under them. Like, there's a lot out there. So, I mean, it probably is the easiest to get somebody into. I mean, that's like, again, I think we've talked about this before on the show, but it just speaks to the popularity of 5e, like why it's become this kind of monster that it's become in a way. So maybe more so than previous editions.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an era of gaming. That's for sure. It's a much.
Welcome to the tech check, where we play with the computers for a couple hours and you watch us fail over and over running a stream. Now all we have to do now is just get a logo made to replace the Wisdom Check logo we used to use, and we're ready to properly advertise this show today.
Well, if you're with us again, thank you so much, because wow. So we were talking for a little bit there, I think, after we were offline, and so we'll turn it way back to the way back machine, and we'll get back to talking about, I think we were talking about 5th ed and how it's a little easier for you to get into, and we were talking a little bit about the easing new players into games, the things that were attractive to those new players. The idea of having mentors help people get back into games, or starting to get into games. And I was starting to ask you about your own introduction into games. And I believe when we were talking before the time, the Wayback Machine tonight, before the stream, we were talking a little bit about your introduction, and you said it was coming from a place of the MMO community, which is we're both pretty familiar with. But we definitely went to MMOs after gaming, so it was a different transition. So I'm curious, what things did you see that were in common between the both that were interesting to you, and where were the differences that you saw that you maybe preferred one over the other?
I might catch flack for this, but I don't care. Well, I played a lot of City Heroes, and of course Warcraft. The City Heroes was my go-to.
Yep, I remember that one.
I played Champions online as well when City Heroes closed down. It wasn't the same, but role-playing in MMOs, usually just people standing around and then chatting. and then doing like /emote sage nod or something like that. And coming off of that, going into, it wasn't until I came to indie when I joined a local store game that I could see the role playing. It's like you break the wall because you're just staring at a screen for like however many hours you're playing an MMO. And yes, you have like pretty graphics to look at, but you get tired of it. And then when you go to a tabletop RPG, like you just get rid of that and you just let your imagination paint that picture for you and what you're seeing and describing to the other players and with the other players. And it's just a completely different experience.
You're not limited by programmed emotes.
Right.
That are built into the system. Like even something like WoW, where they've gone just dump as many dance moves and emotes as they can into that damn thing. Like you're still limited by, what your character's capabilities are to actually do something in the game. So yeah, I could definitely see. We were on a role play server, Scarlet Crusade, for a while, and I remember like it was fun, but like there did hit a point where it was like, okay, like we're just gonna play the game now. You eventually hit that point.
I mean, like you do one quest and you're trying to do it in character, and it just adds double the amount of time to the game itself. Like,
yeah. And at the time, you didn't know you had 15 years to keep playing this game, so we were all in a hurry, and there was no good reason for it. And now, at the end of 15 years, you can go back to the beginning now with how classic and start over again. You don't have to be in a hurry.
And it's pretty hard to do role play when you're in the middle of a scene, everything's going well, like the 5 or 6 of you are in there, you're doing your thing, and then all of a sudden some guy just comes in jumping, saying things about your mom and flailing around in circles, and
they go into the mindset order, and then they notice what's happening. They're like, what are you weirdos doing?
I hadn't considered that for my News Zweihander game, but now every time they start playing, some random dudes just kind of walk through their cell. That's officially a thing I'm going to start doing in my games, just to bring the realism.
Just bring the role play down a little bit.
That's right. Just take it back down a notch. There you go.
And the one thing I'm going to catch flack for is something I noticed when I used to run guilds and super groups in these games, is that when people role play, they just want to talk about themselves. There's no story progression, and that's what's so refreshing about the tabletop. I mean, it can still happen, but you have the GM as a referee to move things forward.
Yeah.
Well, and a rule system is nice in that it keeps players in a somewhat limited play area. It's like, yeah, you guys are cool, but you're this cool,
right?
Like, do what you can within here,
right.
You don't just slash auto win.
that was always the problem I had with like text-based role-playing games too. Like we played a World of Darkness one, and it was everybody just it was just like watching spam chat, just streaming by. Like I never could really get into it. I tried it, it never worked for me. Like,
see, I was more into forum.
Just tabletop does.
I got more in the forum role-playing with like 1 or 2 other people. We would just co-write a story, basically is what it was. And that was more enjoyable than standing around in game, listening to somebody talk about how godlike they were.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
That's definitely how those things go a lot of times too.
So, did you see any of your gamerness kind of pull into it? Like when you were coming from the MMO, like a lot of times MMOs are about builds and how well you kind of gel together. Did you find that infusing into your tabletop experience, or was that a complete flip?
Well, at first, yes. Like with Pathfinder, I guess it was min-maxing. It was more not really finding the best build, but what had the best synergy, like stats-wise. And 5th edition kind of lends itself to that on a point buy. That way you do stats. Like you look and say, where do I place this stat that's going to be great with this racial bonus, or that sort of thing. I mean, I used to love making characters, and now I want to make a character that I can invest in and tell a good story with. So I've kind of matured over time with that.
Pathfinder gives you that MMO feel when you're getting ready to go into combat and you have to spend 10 minutes making sure you have every possible buff up. I'm missing Blessing of Kings. Who's got Blessing of Kings? Come on, Paladin, get with the program. We're missing a buff. There you go. Now we can go into the battle. That was pretty much how I felt during Pathfinder. I was like, hey, do we have all the wands available? We're at a store. Make sure you got them before we go in. It got for real sometimes. Like,
Yeah, there was definitely some of that for sure. It's interesting. So, I mean, this kind of introduction gives us a little bit of a place to go. We've been talking about bringing people into the fold, mentoring and, coming to a table and like making it your own. So I know we had kind of talked ahead of time about topics, but I'm going to flip it around a little, I think, because it makes more sense here. So we're talking about community a lot, and that was one of the things we wanted to talk about was community building. And I think one of the things that Dustin and I got into when we were doing the LARP is that, there was a real tendency for stagnation in groups, not bringing in new people, not, just kind of sticking with the people, and
Right.
telling the same sorts of stories and, ending up with these generational gaps, as a result. And it's hard to change that culture. So are you looking at this as something you're doing proactively to like create a like a I don't know like a legacy kind of idea where like it's a community that will go off on its own, even if you're not maintaining it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have to be there, forever. I mean, I'd like to pass along to someone else. I mean, it's not really like a personal legacy though. I mean, the reason that we started Geek Unleashed, it was me and my buddy Greg and Lily. It's just that me and Lily, once we left the MMO communities and our guilds, we missed that camaraderie that you have in the forums. Like you could just talk and nerd out about stuff on the forums all day long, movies and stuff like that. And at the same time, the guy who ran Pathfinder for me online was complaining. I mean, he has an upper management job and he wants to be able to let his geek out, but he feels like he can't do that with his peers at work or with his workers, employees. So I was like, we should create a community where people feel safe. They can come in and just geek out all they want. That's where Geek Unleashed is, like unleash your geek, basically, is the premise behind that. So I mean, we want to build a community first, and then the rest of it just kind of goes around it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And you are, in my opinion, I think you're quite active as far as the community. Because I'm in so I mean, I see the number of new people you got joining that thing, let's say on a weekly basis, and it's a pretty regular stream of people you got coming in. I mean, I get all the welcome messages,
right?
They pop in, like I see all of them. So,
right.
And everything going on in there, from like book clubs to all sorts of stuff going on in your Discord. Like it is a pretty happening place, really, as far as Discords go. Like, do you find I'm not much of a reader, so I'm not in your book club, but so like, are you actively out seeking for these people, or are they mostly just finding you're out looking for these people to rate your?
Most of the people that come into our Discord community or the ones that watch our show or come in, they catch our show, they see what we're doing, and I have the bot set up to give the Discord link. Not spamming it, but that it's there, that they can see it. And we get people to join regularly, yes. We used to struggle with that when we first started.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the first one at a party, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. So it definitely seems to be how we're getting people. Just people come in here and then they, chat with folks, and there's a little bit of interaction between the different groups of fans, and you get a lot of cross pollination as a result. So it's been pretty cool, developing a larger group and finding people that have things in common, and the subtle differences.
Right. We're also doing something for subscribers. We started, I think, probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
We're giving perks now. So we started implementing it this month. Like last Saturday, we had a movie night for subscribers only. So they can just jump on to Zoom, and then we screen share something and we'll watch it together.
That's fun.
That's kind of cool.
We have one shots. Alex is running a one shot this weekend for the Fallout, and Lily's doing Secret of Cats, which is a fake horror setting this weekend as well. So we're trying to give, the ones that support us the most monetarily, we want to give them something that we show that we appreciate, that they support us. So we give them like character sheets from the shows. When we get order commissions, they get the commission art because they help pay for it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've been trying to figure out what we want to do for subscribers as well, because it is a really important thing. It's very awesome when people are deciding to do that sort of thing.
We're still just trying to figure out what we want to do for Fruitzilla. Man.
Yeah, that guy's a legend.
Yeah, something else.
I've been thinking about doing like maybe like a trivia night, like a game related trivia night.
I'm actually working. It's funny you say that. I'm actually talking even today with Bob from Featherfall Tabletop about putting together a movie trivia night. So we got about like 6-7 people who want to do some movie trivia. So we're getting. It's going to come out soon. I have a feeling. So we're working on something like that. It'll be good.
That's cool. Because I think there's just, like you said, there's a lot of people that have lots of different kinds of geekery, like whether it's, books, whether it's gaming, whether it's tabletop gaming, movies, could be, different hobbies. There's just tons and tons of things out there. And like when you go to like a convention, you run into a lot of these different things,
right.
And it's really cool to give other things a try that you normally wouldn't give a shot, so like I think maybe having these off nights where we do trivia or like what you're doing with like one shots, kind of introducing people to different game systems and stuff would be kind of a cool way of just again kind of mixing people around a little bit,
right.
Getting exposure to stuff.
And as the hobby has grown, we've gotten more different kinds of people, like in ways that like you're getting people who are more like athletes and into athletics type stuff. So like we can run like a fantasy football league and probably have enough people who want to play it. We could run like these other things that we could do, to help build community, I guess, like things that you can do that you don't think about when you're running a tabletop community, I suppose. Like they're not the things you think of.
Yeah, because I can think even with just our group, we talk about this a lot, but we have the name tabletop to keyboard. It's supposed to represent the fact that there's tabletop role playing. There's, keyboards could relate to music, could relate to a computer, could relate to writing. There's like a lot of different ways we can take that. And we have a lot of different hobbies within the group. So that's something we want to eventually kind of expand onto. We just happen to have started with the tabletop side of it.
Right.
And it sounds like what you're doing on your side of things is kind of similar in that vein. You're bringing people in to have lots of different interests and letting them, let that geek flag fly.
Right. And with the movie nights and the one shots too, it's all off stream, so it's just a relaxed on the weekend kind of whatever, and that way we get to know everyone in the community individually. And I want to know people about the first name, not what their handle is in Discord. That's my goal.
Oh yeah.
Just eventually get to actually know them.
Right.
That could end up sometime being something like the Plague Cookout event, eventually.
Yeah, we do for my MMO guild. I'm still an MMO player. Like I know you. I never left. I just changed. So I can talk to you more about that after stream. There's some stuff I'll direct you to at the end.
I felt that classic itch when they started advertising, but I don't have time.
Yeah,
we're not actually in
my enemy.
It's like the one game we're not in at the.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, so we were talking some about the games and things, and bringing new players in, and the idea of mentorship. I guess we could talk a little bit about what makes somebody a good game mentor. You've done this a few times, or is it just the one time you've done it, or?
It was the one show. Sorry, cat was jumping on something.
The number of viewers just doubled because a cat came on screen. That's how it works, is what I understand. The Twitch cat
rules. Magic cats. No, we just did it. I wanted to try it, again with D&D, it's all over Twitch. I mean, I wanted to do something different, but something for my 3 friends who never played.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the idea of just bringing in guests, and they just loved. It was more for helping the story move along. If they got stuck, they would be completely in character and hardly break. So it wasn't like you do this skill or suggest something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just to help the immersion of the story, and they really dug it. And they're like, every guest, they kept saying gets better and better, and they just, the whole experience was great for them.
That's awesome. So are these mentors showing up like for one game and then, you know, dipping out, or are they kind of long term? Or
Yeah, it was meant for one guest per episode. This was a weekly show too. However, at the end for the boss fight, I wanted to make sure that they were safe. So I gave 2 returning guests came back with a new guest.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, you know, having somebody there with you that's doing the role play, just seeing somebody else doing it immediately makes that space accessible. You know,
right.
you look at it and go, oh, you know, that person's, you know, doing something kind of weird and funny or, you know, interesting. They're getting into it. So this is a space where I can do the same. You know, even if I don't want to do it, you know, it's at least something that's now a thing in the game.
Yeah, it makes it easier. Yeah. If they want to dip their toes in, someone else is doing it, they won't feel awkward to try.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then it's interesting with the pacing of it because, you know, I've definitely sat in, like I'm playing another D&D game with one of the players in our Everstorm game. He's running it, so it's Fulcrum. But he's running it for his wife, her friend, and their other friend. And I'm in there as well. So like I'm the person who has experience at the table, whereas the other ones are newish to the game or brand new to the game. And it's an interesting place to be after you played for so long, especially with the same group of people. It's, you know, you see that people are making decisions. You're like, man, I don't remember us ever doing that. Maybe we did at the start. Like, wow, you know, like it seems so obvious what you should do now, but okay, you know, these are new people to it. So it's really cool to take that back seat and just be there and like to observe it and be like, okay, are they stuck? Are they stuck for too long? Okay, now I'll give the little nudge, you know,
Right.
let them set them up so they have a moment to shine, or, you know, like be able to set a stage, I guess is really what I think a good mentor is supposed to be doing for those people. You know, give them a chance to succeed in an interesting way or fail in an interesting way.
Right.
You know.
And so this was a continuous event over however many weeks you were running it, right? You were saying it was Call to Adventure was the one touring.
Yeah, the Call to Adventure, we were running Dragon of Icespire Peak from the Essentials kit.
Right. And so you had different guests. How did you, on an in-game wise, how did you cycle through? Are these all effectively, they're PCs because they're being played by mentors? But is there like a different PC literally showing up every week and the rest of this done? Like, how are you incorporating that? I'm curious how maybe other people are. How are you incorporating that constant, if you will, like revolving door of what are effectively NPCs and PCs kind of at the same time? Like, how are you winging them in and out of there?
Well, the adventure, it kind of lends itself to it because it's written that there's a job board.
Mm.
And
okay.
You go to get the quest off the job board, and the town master won't leave his home. Like, he'll pay you under the door. Like, each coin, 100 coins under the door. He's that scared and terrified of this dragon. So I stuck with that for a while. They would go back to town, but it got apparent that when they were out, it made more sense that they just kept going. So then I had to get more creative and say, okay, you're the guest this week. They're not in town, but you can meet them on the road or this situation. The one for whom the bell tolls is when that started to happen, because I found a side quest in the adventure on a shrine of Savras, and it was just perfect. I had to use it. I skipped 2 quests, or 2 or 3, just for time constraints, but I scheduled the guests in ahead of time when I knew what I was doing, before the show started. got them all on the D&D Beyond, and then Roll20, and then this is your week, this is your level, make a character, make it unique and memorable. That's all I told them. There would be one guest or there'd be two guests. Towards the end, it was two guests, but then the last one was three.
Wow, that's a lot of characters introduced at once.
It is. I mean, that's really the incredible part, I think, of what he did with it. Is just how many different, like I said, kind of borderlining someone playing an NPC versus a PC. Because it's not like they're sticking around for the entire campaign. So I think sometimes they kind of come off with this like NPC sort of feel, like, "Hey, I'm here for today, guys. What are we gonna do?" Like, they're out.
Well, part of that too, with the Essentials kit, it does come with sidekicks, NPCs that players can play, or the GM, and you can run it with just one person, one player. It kind of has that idea behind it, but they're playing the game. They're rolling their stats or their rolls and their spells. But then at the end, they're like, "Well, it's time for me to go. I got a calling, or I'll see you maybe next time." It just, they go off in the sunset each episode. Yeah, it's always every episode of somebody riding off into the sunset.
And they quantum leap out of there.
I think it would be interesting. Like, Call to Adventure obviously has, like you were saying, some of that built into it. I think it'd be interesting if you went, like, if you had all your line of like PCs and everything lined up ahead of time, and you did like a homebrew style game where it was actually episodic, where it was very much like designed in that fashion. Like, I was trying to think of like a good TV show where that always, like, at the end of every episode, like that NPC is like done for. It was like Quantum Leap, I guess, in a way. Like, you deal with the situation, then boom, you're gone, and like you move to the next one. Like maybe in that sort of each episode kind of felt like an episodic television show, just with the guests. Right. It's just it had an ongoing plot, and two of the characters. This is great. One of the later episodes, we had Tori from Level 1 Geek playing kind of this wood elf cleric who was kind of, yeah, man, and it's all in part of the world, that kind of, I wouldn't say hippie, or, he taught the monk what vegan was, and that was a fun conversation to watch unfold. Yeah, like a hipster druid. Right, but the paladin and the monk started to have tension between the two. Like, the paladin didn't think the monk was courageous enough, and the monk was tired of getting called chicken,
Oh, wow.
Kinku, yeah. And this Tori stepped in with her cleric and was like mediating in character, talking to him, like making bracelets out of grass and saying it takes every one of these blades of grass to make a team, even the weakest ones. And it was like a hard-hitting episode with the feels.
Oh, that's good. It's nice when you get those every once in a while. It's opportunities like that I think really sell tabletop role playing, because you don't get that in any other medium, really.
Right.
You can't get that in a video game, really. So it's a special thing. I love when players take the chance to actually, get into those areas.
Every once in a while, you get like a video game that sells you enough and has something happen, but you're like, no. Like, I remember when I first started in Final Fantasy VII, spent hours trying to find a way to get her back, and it never worked. But it's rare. Those games like that are such iconic games because they're the few games where that actually happens to you. But in tabletop, like, you can effectively have it happen in any game session if the people you're with are all real into it and trying to like really make the story and the emotions and stuff come out of it. Like, you can have that happen all the time. Not rare. It's maybe more rare than it ought to be. But
yeah.
But it is
and that's
so
something.
What do you?
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask you. I said, so would you want to talk a little bit about your vetting process for your mentors? You bring them in, do you interview them? Do you talk about their backgrounds? I mean, I know I saw your initial call out for mentors because, like I said, I really, really wanted to be able to apply myself to your time schedule when you play. I was like, yeah, it's right in the middle of my work day. This isn't going to happen. So
right. Sorry, man. No, I didn't really. The vetting process was if they had something I could listen to or I can watch, and then I can see the role playing style. And it's something that would be great on this show, basically.
Mhm.
Ooh, there are some great characters too. I can't even go. But no, it's usually, I know if we have 2 new D&D games that are starting up, we did do a more in-depth vetting interview process for players. But for the guests, for Call Adventure, no, it was more I could go out and see their channels and okay, yeah, let's do it. Actually, I reached out to more people than came to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would imagine people were chomping at a bit, like, to get a chance to play. Like, it doesn't seem like you have to find players, like, just in general. Like, people are always looking for DM. Like, everybody's like, it's hard to find a DM.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Although
You know,
I can see streaming, like, people being hesitant about wanting to be on stream, you know. So having brand new players and putting them on stream, I'm sure was maybe.
And that's why I was looking at people with we have one person on podcast, I believe, but the rest of them had Twitch streams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
it does feel very different once you're on camera, you know, like, and being aware of the fact that you're an entertainment source really changes the way you pace your game, and you know how you feel about role playing scenes that are
Yeah,
unfolding.
it's a game changer, definitely.
Yeah. So I can see that being a big challenge. You know, so it's I guess this kind of ties into the other topic we're going to have, but you know, these opportunities to have rich player driven moments, you know, like you're describing with the bracelet, and have those things in a prepackaged game like a module. Like a lot of times, at least for me, I feel like with the module there's not a lot of room to deviate, because it's, you know, it has a story, you need to get to these points, these things have to happen, and if you're not moving towards those points, it feels like you're not utilizing the module for the module. But
Right.
it seems like there, at least the way you're describing it here, that there are lots of potential chances for character moments, and you know, opening that up. So are there any techniques or anything or examples of ways that you're promoting these things to occur, or are they just kind of
Sure.
organically occurring?
Well, in Call of Adventure, they were organically occurring. But again, with streaming too, when you're going to put D&D out there, it has to feel different than the other 1,000 streams that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
But going to talk a little bit on the printed adventures, and as a player, I feel like, especially when they're very linear, you're just going through a story. It doesn't feel like it. You're a part of the story, but it's not your story.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like to have a little more agency as far as like freedom, like wiggle room to role play or add elements to it that won't break the game. Because I'm afraid that maybe I'll do something, and I'll get to that too. Because eventually, it's the same. We used to be really big in playing at the stores and at local cons. And there was one adventure, I can't remember which the set was, but it was an assassin, and it was at a church. And after you clear the church, the villain is a Modoc, not Modoc, Modron. Anyway, it's been a long day. He was actually hovering up in the hole in the church, giving this huge monologue. And I know as a player, he has to survive for the next 2 parts.
Yeah.
But I cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter on him, and he failed to save. And of course, he has to fall and go prone. And the DM's like, look at me like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, it's fine. Just run it through.
All right.
Well, so I guess
Because that's how these things go tonight. Duke has now lost his internet, so he's working on repatching himself back in, because the internet gremlins are out there in force tonight, apparently all across the Midwest and out towards the East Coast, apparently. So,
but apparently sidestepping Chicago thus far. So I guess we'll knock on wood around here. So yeah, we'll hopefully have him back here shortly. So I guess we got a little opportunity to interact with you guys, the fans in the corner over there. And since we're talking about this mentorship idea, Did any of you guys in the chat, or any of you guys, gals, or others in between, have a mentor that kind of picked you up and brought you into gaming, or were you all kind of self-taught? And while they're chiming in on that, I guess we can chit chat a little bit about kind of our own thing.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and just kind of continue on with what he was kind of getting at, or where the conversation was kind of going, and then we'll let him hop back in. It's a chance, but with the 5e modules, and I know we kind of talked with Scuzz about this maybe a couple weeks ago a little bit, is that these modules for 5e, the writing teams on them have been amazing. They have written these from a different point of view of what modules were written in previous editions. Like that almost none of them that I have kind of taken a chance to glance through at Game Shop or that I've watched on stream seem linear. They all seem to very much have elements put in where it's almost like every time they introduce a floor plan or anything out there, it's like, hey, opportunity for you to decide what you want to do here. It's not like, here's what you need to do here. It's here, opportunity. Like, for instance, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, then I don't want to spoil this for anyone who gets into it, but the first level you go into, there is a territory dispute between the Xanathar Guild and what are essentially vampire wannabe LARPers. And these two groups are kind of at war fighting over the first level of this dungeon. And you can go meet either group, decide which one you want to back, decide which one you don't like, how you want to interact with each. You just kill them both and move on to the next level. Like, so it's like, even in these dungeons where these things are like set up, like you get these situations where the module's just basically like, all right, so what do you do about this? And that gives you opportunities then to make character decisions and not just clear room X, move into hallway Y, rinse repeat till you find an end boss with a name that you recognize.
Yeah, I guess that's the advantage of having, 40 plus years of game development time to figure out what players are interested in and what works in the medium. Because I guess when you are back at the origin of Dungeons and Dragons, what works in your room of 5 or 6 people, but
right,
it takes years of lots of play testing, lots of groups running through things to realize just how much agency is needed to really make something fly. And it looks like we got some answers in our chat here.
I can't see it. You'll have to tell me what they're saying.
Yeah, it looks like DJ Phoenix and the Liching Hour both had the experience of starting off essentially as a mentor, always the GM and rarely a player. Which, that definitely happens probably to the person who is most, motivated in the gaming circle. The one that buys the books, learns it, and tries to encourage their friends to play. So I think that maybe sets you in a position where you get stuck there for a little while. Let's see, then we have Nevelicious. Nevelicious says that they had a whole group of folks that teamed for them, and
Duke is having an outage. He says.
What's that?
Duke says he has a legit outage, like his area is out.
Well.
The people that took mine down earlier have moved over and have taken his down. So go ahead and keep reading, Jeff. Sorry, I just wanted to give you an update.
All right. Well, hopefully you can get back on. That would be a little bummer if it couldn't, but we'll understand if it happens.
Yep.
Let's see. Then we had basically Nevelicious talking about how they had a whole group of people that helped teach them and get them going.
Oh, and maybe we're getting it back.
Somebody on here. It looks like it's thrown off our 2-man situation here, so it does appear that we have at least that going. Nice, good, quick action there.
He's got that Stream Deck, working that Stream Deck overtime today.
So good. Well, while we're seeing if this actually plays out, we have our own Resin Hana here, who's brought in by our friend Barry and brought into some of our early games. And actually, I forgot that Dark Ages Vampire game I ran was Resin Hana's first game. That's hilarious.
Was it really?
I guess so.
I didn't know that.
His original Gangrel character, whose concept was "Don't die."
Hey, he's back.
Hey, I'm back, sort of.
Cell
Sort
phone
of.
style.
Right.
Love it.
This stream tonight's been brought to you by Verizon, because that's apparently how we're all getting our internet today.
Oh man.
Yes, there is an outage in my area.
Wow.
Your area is right next to mine. I only live an hour from, so we're not that far apart. So that's
Yeah,
just how
so
it's been.
we were in the midst of talking about some stuff. Yeah, I'll give you a heads up if my internet's about to die. I don't think it's gonna happen, but
He's the only one left. At some point, you have to, Jeff. You have to complete this. You have to complete the
just have to yank
circle.
the cord
Come
out?
on,
I can go do that
whatever
for you.
it takes. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, so we were talking about just kind of role playing being a more open thing in modules
Right.
if you develop it correctly. And I was asking you about if you had any particularly useful techniques or methodologies that have created more of those moments in those modules.
Right. When we did Smuggler's Run,
Mhm.
I mean, there was a module I wanted to run. It was the Jewel of Yavin, because I like high stories. Let me fix this camera real quick.
Sure.
So I knew I wanted to implement that into the show, but I didn't want to be. I hate text boxes, by the way. That's like one of my things I loathe now, because
Doesn't everyone?
I find it takes me as a GM out of storytelling mode,
Mhm.
and it often sometimes gives away something that you don't want to spoil yet. Like, you want to have that dramatic tension. So for Smuggler's Run, I decided to, the game system, you have obligations, and I gave everybody 2, and I was like, great, so yours is family and you have a bounty. Well, let's create NPCs out of those 2 buckets, and every time it comes up, I'll introduce these characters in the story in a fluent way and just play off of you guys. And that's how the plot became with the Black Sun Pirates, was off of that method. I have a D&D show starting, since the Call to Adventure ended. It starts next Thursday. What I think I'm going to try for that one is the same method. However, I want to use. I found, and I know it's been existed for a long time, but Dan Harmon's Story Circle, which is like a lighter version of the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to implement that, and that's why we came up with the name Wheel of Fate for the next one, is because I want to put these characters, they already told me like their backstory, so I know how they're going to start, and I want to see them return to that point, changed, and their journey completed. So that's a new way I'm going to try to track where they are on the circle, and it may be different for different players.
Mm-hmm. And do the players know that they're on that kind of setup? Okay.
Yes. And it's not railroading. I mean, it's going to be really open. It's just based off their movements as through the story, and not less of mine. I just create the NPCs. The method I do for those is I give them a desire, a want, and how they would react to the player characters.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of give them a personality and less of a story or a quest to give. That's another thing I do for the narrative. So instead of having, because when I first started sitting in the DM chair, I made the mistake of putting too much details in my planning for the story, and I ended up railroading the players, and I hated myself for that, because I hate that as a player. So now I've decided just to build the world, not really anticipate. I'll probably build like one combat encounter per episode, but the rest of it's on them. But with Avernus, Baldur's Gate into Avernus coming out, we talked before the show that I wanted to each season bring in a new product line from Wizards, like most people do, and not use the campaign part of it, but the setting.
Yeah.
and try to find a way to stand out, because everybody's going to run the campaign. You'll find actual plays. There's already several out there already. Not even based off the ones from last year from the giant stream in LA. The books came out. It came out Monday.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. I think over the weekend of people who got their book.
Yeah, and there's already tons of streams out there for Avernus. So it's like, now, what do I use from the book? I mean, we'll probably spend a lot of time in Baldur's Gate. Avernus is very streamlined. It's a very linear adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sandbox like Waterdeep kind of felt.
Right.
So I don't think I want to do the whole story arc, but there are things in the book that has to be there because it changes the landscape of Faerun. So I mean, you can't not have it happen.
Sure. Yeah.
Without spoiling anything.
Right. But that's like setting your story, if you were going to write a book, in the backdrop of World War II,
right?
But not have it be about a battle that took place in World War II.
Exactly.
So this whole thing be happening in the background, and this is just a story of characters X, Y, and Z who were doing something while all this chaos was going on around them. So it's not a hard concept because you see that done in so many other mediums through TV, film, books, whatever, but you don't see people do that in game quite as much.
Right.
Like with these modules, and I don't know if it's just that modules have that stigma to them. Like, here's your adventure from beginning to end, because you treat it like you do a book where you sit down and you read through it and you're like, okay, so that's how that story's supposed to go, right? Like,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's just a stigma or if there's 30 years of that being the way it always was that you have to break, but it seems like that's what people want to do with it, which I guess in a way is what it's designed for. But I don't know why people don't see these other opportunities, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as getting a cookbook and then deciding not to use the actual recipe out of the book. Like, obviously you get the cookbook because you want to know how it's done. So like,
right.
For me, it feels like if I'm going to do a module, I'm gonna run the module. But that's why I don't run modules.
Right.
But it is interesting to see that you're pulling setting stuff. Are you pulling like NPCs and like using them as well, or are you writing your own story just in that timeline?
I think maybe some of the NPCs. I don't see a use for. I mean, Ark and the Cruel is in it. I'm not going to use him. Nothing against Joe Magniello, but I don't know. I mean, it's based off really what each player's told me the story they kind of want to tell and where they start. And some of them will find their journey in Avernus, like their path. But I'll have to add some, definitely, based off what they've given me.
Gotcha. So yeah, that's an interesting thing too, because you're working with your players and trying to take what they're doing and trying to introduce it into what's already there. Whereas I know for when you're not writing with a module in mind, you can just basically look at your characters and say, okay, what are they doing? How do I make a story from that encapsulates everything and moves forward? So it's an interesting kind of inversion of what I think we're used to in our group.
I think what you're doing is really, it sounds like, to me anyway, you really are home brewing the bulk of your story. What you're doing is instead of spending who knows how many countless Levi spends making maps, deciding what islands are where or what's a corner, you're just using almost the sort of the box setting to say, like, well, this is what's all around here going on. Let's just play in the sandbox of Waterdeep or of Baldur's Gate. Like, you're just sitting in that world. You're not really using that module to its I guess really its design in a way. You're just taking it for the pieces that you like and then really homebrewing a story inside of it.
Well, it's a challenge too, because I want this show to last multiple seasons. And they're just starting. So I mean, to get their basic story told, so the characters, it has to take place in Baldur's Gate. The adventure is a 1 to 13 level adventure. That's a pretty hefty size level.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and you want to break it down to seasons to like 24 episodes and then come back next season with something new. Where do you stop the leveling process? Like, where do you plan the characters to start next season at what level? You know, and then insert whatever product one to whatever level that they come out with next. So you kind of have to detach yourself, even though the story is amazing. I've read through it at least once, and then picked through things. Like the history and the lore of what's happening in Avernus. It's crazy, but it cosmically alters the setting as well, which I haven't seen really in an adventure before.
Yeah,
with the outcome.
Like they're pushing like a new era. So I mean, they kind of did that with like fourth ed a little bit, you know, and changing the cosmology and changing the setting and that kind of stuff.
They did a fair amount with Orcus over the years. If you go back through D&D history, a lot of the changes with the cosmology seems to have always centered around Orcus a little bit for the editions that he was around, I guess. But yeah, so I haven't read Avernus. I don't. Obviously, we don't want to spoil anything on stream because it's brand new, and there's a lot of people out looking to that get their teeth sunk into Avernus right now. So, but yeah, I could see where it's interesting that you're having something that's that big that happens on a cosmology type level between levels 1 to 13.
Right.
You think about that would be like Mad Mage. We're going from levels 5 to 20. Like that would be the one you think that would have like those kind of ramifications.
Right. Yeah.
Level 1 to 13 when that's taking place.
Yeah, I'm curious how that's going to play out because I mean, I could see things like you're bumping into the underlings that are setting things in motion, you know, and dealing with the politics of that, and you know, maybe stumbling through power that is well beyond you, kind of in that Cthulhu level of like, I'm very insignificant, but oops, here I am, you know. So I think that could be kind of a cool thing. It is very odd to see that as a focus of those levels. Yeah, like you said.
That or your Bilbo Bagginsing it up, your Walker. You're causing entire cosmic shifts, and you have no clue what you're doing. Ring me,
right?
Okay. Level 12, they finally reveal what it is. You're like, oh man, that's what it does. Are you kidding? We've had that thing since summer camp.
But I mean, the book does a good job too of having, like I said, a big section on Baldur's Gate, like they did with Waterdeep. You could easily play a campaign that's all political intrigue in the upper city, or something that's like Gangs of New York style in the lower city.
That would be fun.
And just do just Baldur's Gate, you know, or you go to Avernus, you know, you have the main story with El Terrell that's going on, and then you have Avernus that's going on. But you have the war machines too. You can just focus on doing a Mad Max. Just picking a side with the devils or the demons.
So at what point do you think we get where the people at D&D just start realizing maybe what they need to do is putting out urban campaign settings? Here's Baldur, just take Baldur's Gate and just play in the damn thing. Like, why have the 20,000 maps attached to it? This like idea that you're going to delve down in this dungeon. What we really need is a giant toolbox of here's what's in this city. To a degree, go mess with it and do what you're going to do. Like maybe is that the direction you think modules maybe are heading as we're getting this?
Maybe I like the city settings.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. I prefer city settings.
Yeah, cities definitely open things up because you know dungeons are linear by nature. You know, whereas you know, or travel games tend to be because there's a path. Whereas a city, it's like who knows what's going to happen. You know,
right?
Yeah.
Like adventure is like within a day, no matter what. So like, what adventure you going to run into? Could be next block. Could be something crazy. You know,
right?
And it does have its own kind of fallout too, because you know when you're in a city, the ramifications of your actions matter. You know, whereas if you're out camping, running around the countryside, you know, you go sack a village and I don't know what happened over there, you know?
Murder hobo. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you burn a house down in the city. Ooh, okay, that's gonna have some consequences, you know?
We get some chat coming in here. Grim and Perilous Gaming, it's our buddy Matt, I believe. Says Waterdeep Dragon Heist did exactly that. They basically gave you Waterdeep, and that is true. They did get, because they, with the 4 seasons and 4 different potential bosses, they really gave you a lot of room to play in there. And it looks like DJ Phoenix there is also chiming in saying that they're doing the same with the Ravnica. I've actually played in that Ravnica D&D game. And yeah, they did that to a degree, but that's just because Ravnica, like the whole campaign is a city. It's kind of like, I guess in a way, it's kind of like being like, hey, you're playing on Coruscant, Star Wars. Right. You really know where to go with the city. So yeah, it is kind of that way, but it's that's truly more of a campaign setting and not a module, I guess, per se. But
yeah, right. I think at 4th Ed they had like the Shadowlands box that was, they had an adventure, but it was like the whole Gloom City kind of thing, and you know, had the whole big map of it all and all the different factions. There was like little mini quests and stuff all over the place, and it felt pretty wide open. Actually, sitting right next to me, the Shadowfell for Gloomrot and Beyond. And I don't think that was its own story or not, or whatever, but it is a hefty chunk of information. It could definitely have been a wide open thing like you're describing.
I do enjoy their pairing of cities with a setting, though, or a campaign, because you get the new players to learn about locations. Like I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on the PC long time when it first came out. But it's nice to see it, you know, written in one book that you can go back to. I just love it. I wonder what's going to be next, really. Are they going to do Neverwinter and like the Feywild?
I would imagine Neverwinter is high up on the list just because it's name recognition. Like you do Waterdeep because it's got a lot of D&D name recognition and lore. You get Baldur's Gate because, you know, the video games have been out there for a long time, so people recognize it. And I think Neverwinter will be another. I don't know if they go back to Faerun again for Neverwinter then, but they seem to kind of like to want to hit some of their other module, like the old campaign settings. Like that's what you don't see so much now. You don't see the entire campaign settings being sold. Like it seems like for 5th Ed the way they were with the old editions, where you just went and bought the literal Forgotten Realms book that had all that information in there. But
well, it's because all that information is still out. You know, people tend not to buy those books. You know, because mechanics change, but the setting typically is the same.
They change a lot because they advance the storylines throughout the editions. That's like the interesting part about it is they'll jump ahead 1,000 years with an edition and be like, and here's what happened since, and then try to recreate the wheel a little to give you room to play.
The Sundering, the big thing in the 4th edition.
Yep. Yeah. So like I said, they try to make these cosmic events, and maybe that's something you'll see by the Descent. Something like that could happen, and then they'll start releasing the setting books and goes, here's everything it's going.
Right.
Yeah, it's good to shake things up and make some fertile ground for new writing. Things can really stagnate out if you don't.
Right.
I will say I do miss some Dark Sun. That was a cool setting. Did you ever try that one?
No.
I think you would like Dark Sun. It's you know anything about it or?
Well, not really. No. I mean, I know that during the stream they had Jox Machina. That the Big Show played someone from that setting, Dark Sun.
Gotcha. Yeah, Dark Sun is like a desert planet where magic is what's at fault for ruining a planet, so it's considered evil. It's like run by these dictators, you know, all over these little city states. Water is mega precious. Metal is a real problem because you don't really want to wear it. So it's a bunch of like carapaces and, you know, insectoid monsters and stuff. The environment's just awful. Like it's gritty and nasty and violent and just dark. It's wonderful. I love it. It does feel a lot like Dune.
I was gonna say, I always kind of felt like it was designed to be D&D's version of, is what it always came across to me that way, even if that's not what it was intended. That's just what it always felt like. That, or it was like, this is D&D's attempt at having a Western setting. But it was a little, I guess, not quite Western, but it
I
always
think it's a
kind
little
of
more Conan.
yeah, maybe a little more Conan is.
I would mix Conan and Dune.
Yeah,
That's what it felt like to
yeah,
me.
that's what we got
Okay.
DJ Phoenix saying here too. Feels like Dune mixed with Conan.
Yeah, well, there it is. Yeah.
The chat agrees. They
Good word.
concur. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool setting. So if you ever get a chance to try that, I think give it a go. Considering you were talking a lot about some of these more grittier kind of I don't know, Mad Max style kind of
Sure.
desert wasteland kind of stuff. It's fun. Low magic is really, I think, the appeal to it. So, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stories I think it kind of squashed by having too much magic.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about Zweihander. I get to play in low fantasy.
Do you have an
I need
opinion?
to look into that one. I haven't played.
Well, I'm
That one.
starting a game Thursday. You'll get to see some crazy character creation going on.
All right.
It's a spectacle all of itself.
That's funny. Yeah, so this is just fertile ground, I guess. I get these different opportunities, different styles to kind of flesh out these opportunities for role-playing moments in these modules, and it's cool seeing these different styles of modules coming out.
Yeah.
Now, are there some that you prefer over others, and like which ones have you found that are really opening themselves up to more character development and such, and which ones do you think people should avoid if they're looking for that?
Well, I've only played. Well, I ran Waterdeep for some kids. We did the Winter Path, and I played through the Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to Rise of Tiamat, and I didn't really care for Elemental, the Prince of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Again, we were doing a lot of Adventure League at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it really depends. I do like the newer settings because they give you a lot of information on, say, Waterdeep or Baldur's Gate, or as long as there are events that happen in game that you can present to the players in a different way, or the viewers in a different way if you're doing a stream. As I'm going to say El Terrell, I'm not going to say why, but that's something that is a big part of this campaign. And you'll get to see it at the end. Well, I plan to do it at the end of our first episode next Thursday to kind of, I want to leave with hooks. Like, that's the kind of storytelling I want to do. I know it's kind of hard to balance because players want their time to tell their story. We only have a 3-hour slot, so I mean, it's kind of, we have to find that balance.
Yeah, it's always a challenge because that compressed time play is just, it's so rough. But it sounds like you're playing twice a month, so at least you're having a couple games, in there. Yeah, for us, it's like,
it's weekly. It'll be
He's
every
weekly.
week.
No, he's
Yeah.
he's
yeah,
every week.
that's,
I mean, he keeps a pretty. Actually, if he wasn't using modules, it'd be a pretty grueling schedule, I think, to keep up with. Because you got like at least 3 games a week, isn't it, that you have running?
Yeah, because we were doing the Cyberpunk
Right.
Jumpstart kit, and we're going to end that tomorrow night, or tonight, my time.
It is now.
We have Heroes Inc. on Monday, which is run by Alex. And I'm so happy that we have Alexander Thomas, to pick up some of my slack so we can do more shows. And then Thursday, I was doing the Call to Adventure. Actually, I do have dates for the new stuff.
I need to get your schedule from me so I can update my
Yes.
promo images.
Once I get all
now that all this is switching up, I just got the images done, and then everybody rebranded.
Mhm.
I go on vacation, and I come back, it's chaos. Cats and dogs are playing in the street. Like, I've been redoing these things like for a week now, it seems like. So I'll have to get that from you so I can make
Sure. Well, the Wheel of Fate is my D&D game. It's going to start October 3rd, Thursday nights, 7:30 to 10:30 Eastern, because I don't want to brush up too into Critical Role. I think that's extreme suicide.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, smart man. Wise words.
Smuggler's Run Season 2 will start October 10th. That's the Fantasy Flight game, Star Wars role playing game.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna be we made an anthology, so it's gonna be new characters, new stories this season. And then Alexander is running Heroes of the Mist on starting October 14th on Mondays. It's basically Curse of Strahd, but he's throwing his own elements into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
So we'll have 3 games going. Yeah,
I have 3 going for that week.
Oh, man, that is a grueling schedule. No wonder you don't have any time.
No.
And
I love having guests, but that's when like the one shot was so grueling on my schedule because I had to make new overlays each week, and I wanted the overlays to fit the game, so I was making new overlays every weekend for a channel, and then getting guests and their names in there, and it was too much.
Oh yeah.
Although they were very good one shots. I know I watched Kids on Bike when he did that one for a few weeks. That was fun. Like it was complete chaos, but it was fun.
On bicycles, is that what you said?
It was kind of a Stranger Things feel to it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It emulates all
fun.
your Kids on Bike stories like Ed, Goonies, Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's really funny how that's a genre, but it
has become one.
I mean, it only happens in one era too. It's like that 70s, 80s is the only time that sort of game could work.
Well, that's when all those stories came out. Like I just went and saw It Chapter 2. And guess what? It was a bunch of kids on bikes fighting this demon thing, right? Basically.
Right.
So yeah, it was all that time period. Apparently, it was fashionable to write about a bunch of kids doing something they shouldn't be doing. Like,
and that's a rules light game too, so it's easy to pick up and just run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that being a big advantage for one shots. Because there really isn't a lot of time to kind of poke around and have heavy intensive rule system. Yeah.
We had different game masters come in and run them too, so it wasn't just me all the time.
That's good.
We started our stream doing things, the Star Wars game locally and one shot locally, but tech issues caused us to go all remote, which is great because it was April Fool's and She-Ra was big, the Netflix cartoon.
Oh, nice.
And somebody posted that they're making a She-Ra RPG, but it was an April Fool's joke. So all these people were up in arms. I was like, hey, you know what? I'll see that. I'll run She-Ra. And that was the best decision ever made.
There were people just hankering for it, but I remember that there was backlash. Like there was serious backlash by the community. They were super.
We did it Fate Accelerated. Lily ran it, and we had several new faces join our. That was the time that people started really coming into our community and wanting to run things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Mm.
Yep. You bring in a bunch of people, energized, ready to rock.
Right.
Oh man, we got to come up with some good April Fools for next year.
We got time.
Oh yeah, we got to plan
some time. You just don't want to create anything that's going to get that kind of backlash because it was not positive back. That was
really.
Oh yeah, people were downright angry that it was like somebody took away their Christmas gifts. Like it was like they'd seen the present under the tree, and then the day came, and somebody had just taken the Christmas present and got rid of them. Man, it was people were.
So to be clear, you didn't start this April Fool's joke. You
no. It just was. It happened, and he said, "You know what?
Opportunist."
It was like who knew that people were looking for She-Ra. And people didn't know they wanted She-Ra till somebody mentioned that there was going to be one. Was like
from that we had a couple great players, Amanda Joyce, who will be in the D&D show on Thursdays, and Bunny, because I don't know her real name. If you're watching Bunny, hi. She's joined us for every one shot, most of the one shots that we had.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
We did a Pokemon one shot too. It was really hilarious.
Oh, I think I missed that one.
We try to line up the movies. We did John Wick. We using Modern Age, and we did Detective Pikachu came out, and Lily ran Big Eyes, Small Mouth, like second edition.
Oh, that's fantastic!
And we all created trainers, and then we created the Pokemon that was our companion Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, you know what, Lily, let another player play someone's Pokemon. that way you could have that interaction, between Pokemon and trainer, and it was beautiful.
Oh, nice.
That would be
I don't think we've ever done that. That would be kind of fun for a little while, like a short running game, I think.
Somebody play the familiar of another player, something like that. Like,
I would
Well, I
totally
got the idea. What is it? Cipher System. Shauna Germain wrote a setting called, I don't remember what it's called now. Anyways, it had dinosaurs, and you found a way to time travel. And so your ancestors travel back in time to the period of dinosaurs, and then you broke time travel through your generation. So you're stuck before the asteroids coming.
DJ Phoenix is chiming in saying is it predation?
Yes, predation. That's it.
There you go.
Sorry, I have
Thank you, DJ Phoenix,
no
for being on the
internet
ball.
to look at stuff, so I feel like I can't look.
Yeah, I know. We're all blind today. You can't see anything.
So naked.
I finally got the chat up where I could at least see the chat, so we got him here for it.
Thanks, DJ Phoenix. Yeah, when I played at Gen Con, you play a person, and the person to your right plays your dinosaur companion.
Oh,
that's cool.
That's cool. So everyone has a character and is a dinosaur?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's neat.
Oh, that's kind of a neat way of doing it.
It's a cool setting too, because you're stuck in the past, and you have like a faction who doesn't. They're called the butterflies or something, because if you step on a butterfly, it causes the effect in the future. So they don't want you to fix time travel and go back. They just want you to die with the asteroid. And then there's people who want to get it working again, and you're just stuck there. It's kind of like a Mad Max kind of feel with like your outfit and stuff like that, and technology. But it's pretty fun.
That's a neat setting. I could actually, I'm gonna have to look into that. So we got a lot of people that play Ark Survival Evolved that may appeal to.
Oh yeah,
that'd be kind of an
I
interesting.
could definitely see that being a nice tie-in for people that come here from watching you play Ark.
Well, that's pretty clever. I dig it. Yeah. So oddly enough, we are at our usual time here, aren't we?
It's just been so disjointed today with all the outages and everything. It's been a mess of a show.
Already almost midnight.
So, yeah, it is. I mean,
10 minutes.
The TT2KB troubleshooting hour is over. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, much appreciated. We'll have to have you on again when we have working internet. And get some more stuff going. And kind of dig in a little bit deeper into some of these other games and ideas and see how the mentorship stuff is working in this next setup. And I'll definitely be interested if I can find the time for it. I'll definitely be up for popping in if you got an extra spot.
Sure, man.
I love the idea of getting in there and work with people and encouraging new gameplay and all that. So
let's go ahead and give Duke here again a chance to tell us who you are, where you're from, and what times good people out there can find you streaming.
Sure.
And just like that on cue, we lose him. No, wait.
Hey, now we're on the computer.
Stop me.
He's got actual internet back now.
Actual internet. All right. Like I say, without being interrupted.
I was like, man, I couldn't have timed that better if I tried.
Right. Thanks, Comcast. There goes my sponsorship with them. Geek Unleashed, and actually, now that I have the internet, I can probably. Do you mind if I drop my Discord link in your chat?
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
I'll put it in there.
If you can do it.
Remote.
Actually, I saved it before I lost the internet. Let's see.
It's been the night from hell for this.
There we go.
Oh, did it block it?
Oh, it blocked it.
Oh no! All right.
Hey, hold on. I'm in your Discord. Can I can't drop. I can't.
I think Clint could probably grab that for us potentially.
But yeah, Monday nights currently 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Heroes Incorporated. It's actually, I'm not sure what we're doing next Monday because Alexander is out, their GM.
Mm-hmm.
The finale is the following Monday. And then he's going to jump into the Strahd campaign on Mondays. And then tomorrow night, I want to wrap our Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart thing that we were doing. And then this Thursday, actually, I was going to say earlier before the internet interrupted me the first time. One of the things we're doing for our subscribers is we're doing session 0 pre-recorded, and I'm going to upload it to YouTube and share the links only to subscribers, so they get to see the building.
Oh, that's
little perk. And then next Thursday we'll be going live with that. On social medias, it's at Geek Unleashed HQ for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And yeah, I think that's it.
all right. Clint says in our little Discord chat, if you post your link in there, he will
okay.
the actual chat while me and Jeff give our outros. Jeff, tell all the good people out there where they can find.
Sure. Well, I've been taking a break from my usual YouTube action on Reign Survives. It's REIGN Survives. That's where you could find a lot of Let's Play activity. So I did Ark Survival Evolved for quite a while. I did Fallout 4 Frost. I did Green Hell. I've done some Pathfinder, Kingmaker, and a few other things. So if you enjoy watching somebody bang their head against the wall against super difficult game settings, that's where you need to go, because it's a lot of fun. I have had a great time doing that stuff. I'm on a bit of a break from that right now, so not a lot of new content coming out there, but a lot of great old content. There's like 100 videos on there. But what I have been putting out on the regular is recast of the Wisdom Check. So if you go over to the tabletop to keyboard, it's all spelled out, at YouTube, you will find all of our previous episodes up there for your enjoyment. So if you've missed one and you need to go back, and there's been a lot of them now. We're up to like episode, this will be 32 that we're doing right now.
I think so. Yeah.
Holy cow. So go on there, give those a watch, share them out there, get us some love on that channel, get that thing going. And that's basically what I've been up to recently. So Dustin, what have you been up to?
Space Mountain. I am back finally. I know you were all missing me so much with such cool guests like Larry Elmore on there. You know, that was an awesome episode,
awesome.
by the way. So,
Good.
but I do have to thank Levi for filling in for me for the last 2 weeks, both last week with the voice acting, previous week. He did a great job filling in. So I do thank him for helping step up during those times. I am back now, and I've got a full slate of stuff coming up soon. Just here, obviously, every Monday, 10 p.m., I'm back on the Wisdom Check. You'll find me here talking with a new guest every week. Next week, I believe it's... hold on, I got it right here. I'll look at it. I had the name a second ago and I lost it. I want to say, is it Chris Jackson? Is that his name? Am I right? Yeah, Chris Jackson. Hey, see, I am right.
Jackson. Yeah.
Chris Jackson is with us next week, and we're going to talk a bit about writing for game companies. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. And then the week after that, we will have Daniel D. Fox, the creative director of Zweihander, will be here. And I'm super looking forward to that talk. So that's our next couple of guests we have coming up. This Thursday, speaking of Zweihander, here on Tabletop to Keyboard, we'll be doing session 0 to begin a campaign that I'm running in Zweihander called The Terror in Treefell. And you'll find out what all that means in a couple of days, as my brand new cast of players are joining me to go through the chaos that is Zweihander character creation. And it is quite the process, and they are all starting to dig into it and see what it's going to be like, and they're all scared to death. I mean, with 78 professions, will do that to you. So,
yeah.
But it is going to be a lot of fun. It's a big, gory, scary mess that game can be sometimes, and it's going to be fun to run. So I'm looking really forward to it. Saturday, just a couple of days after that, Everstorm returns.
Oh, yeah.
And more importantly, my character, Bound Heroes, returns, because he's been gone for 2 games. No one knows what's happened to him. I now know what's happened to him.
I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, Kodo leaves. It's sad. Kodo and Morgaine won't be there. So it'll be Fulcrum, Skeezer, and rejoining with with Bauer and Harris, the pirate
I have
druid.
no idea how this is going to come out, but
And
it's going to
I
happen.
do. I know exactly how it's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
well, we won't be quite at full cast again. We will. There is a game Saturday, 10 p.m. here on Tabletop to Keyboard. Coming up in the near future, I am also slated to appear on Smart Gamer Live, which is a friend of mine, Zaylen Galen. You see him here in the chat every now and then. He runs a community MMO based podcast, and also on Tuesdays, then they do MMO Grind, which is more like this, like a sit down with a guest, two of the commentators and a guest, and I'll be appearing on one of those shows coming up in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
So
busy man.
Yeah, busy man as usual, and might even be streaming on Plague State soon with some Star Wars: The Old Republic. So
Wow.
we'll see if I can get all these things juggled around. So.
And we're trying to come up with a day where we're going to do some more video game stuff on here. So that could be kicking around on our channel as well. So that's it's been a good one. Been enjoying the conversation. And like I said, we'll have to have another one when our internet isn't running afoul with us all. And so thank you very much for coming. And thank you, audience, for coming and keeping us company here in the chat. We appreciate you. And we'll catch you.
Thank you much for being here.
Yep.
See y'all.
See ya.